Hey folks, King here, Stay Tuned Sports, and Giants Twitter has been going on nonstop over, I want to say the last year, 2 years, I mean honestly probably since he was drafted, about wanting to get Daniel Jones out of MetLife Stadium, along with whatever shitty artificial surface that they decide to slap in that concrete slab in the middle of the Meadowlands that's doing its best impression of an air conditioning unit. And they want the Giants to go ahead and start over at quarterback. It seems to be everybody's go-to. Start over at quarterback. Just start over. Even despite the fact that without a legitimate wide receiver core and an offensive line that wasn't actively trying to murder him, Daniel Jones has put up comparable numbers to Josh Allen up in Buffalo, who seems to have no shortage of NFL fans and pundits ready to suckle on his sweet, sweet, sweaty ballsack. Now, here's the deal. The Giants getting Malik Neighbors as the first true wide receiver, number one, that Daniel Jones has been able to work with since his time with the Giants began, it's the right pick for the Giants. I believe that. I believed it last night during the live stream. I still believe that now. What we're missing in all this, too, I think, if I may be so bold, is that this was the opportunity for Joe Schoen and Brian Dable to kind of put their stamp on the team, if that's what you're thinking about. You know, Daniel Jones was a pick of David Gettleman in the last regime, and 2 coaching regimes ago for the Giants anyway. But this was their chance to go ahead and get a quarterback that was theirs, put all their eggs in that basket, and run with that. But they decided not to do that. They went with Malik Neighbors. What does that tell me? That tells me that both Joe and Brian are putting their jobs in the hands of one Daniel W. Dimes. That's what I'm telling you right here. Some Giants fans I've seen, they're willing to have 2024 be a throwaway season. Just have it go away. Oh, we'll just throw the season away. We'll move on from Daniel Jones next year when the contract is off the books. We can get out of the contract that he has and all that stuff. We'll get a quarterback in 2025, and that'll be great. But if I'm Brian Dable, if I'm Joe Schoen, there's no guarantee that I'm going to be there if the Giants don't perform even moderately well this year. They might be gone. So are you going to go ahead and say we're going to throw this year away and then just hope that we still have a job and then we'll go for a quarterback? And not only that, you don't know where you're going to be picking in 2025. You don't know who's going to be available in 2025. You have no idea of any of those things. So many variables that coming up here. And the simple fact is, Giants have improved their offensive line. It's gotten better. It can't be any worse than it was last year. Again, when there was, actual homicide trying to take place. Not just against Daniel Jones, but against Tyrod Taylor and against Tommy DeVito. How you doing? They've got their wide receiver now in Malik Neighbors. The defense is improving. I love that trade to get Burns from Carolina. That's a great pickup. So you have these things. The Giants are improving, and you have the 2 big guys there, Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, willing to sink or swim, putting their jobs on the line and putting it in the hands of Daniel W. Dimes. And if they're willing to put their jobs in his hands and believe in Daniel Jones, then who am I to doubt them? I trust their judgment. I trust their assessment. And I believe in Daniel Jones. Now, perhaps the biggest talk coming out of last night's draft was the Falcons picking big Penix energy out there. Michael Penix Jr. at number 8 after signing Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract without telling Kirk or his agent that was ever their plan to go ahead and get a quarterback. Now, Cousins' agent, Mike McCartney, no, not McCarthy. He's down there in Dallas going all in, apparently. He said, yes, it was a big surprise. We had no idea this was coming. The truth is, the whole league had no idea this was coming. We got no heads up. Kirk got a call from the Falcons when they were on the clock. That was the first we heard. It never came up in any conversation. As for Kirk, we know he was probably too busy counting his Kohl's cash there. He couldn't be reached for direct comment. But here's where I land on this, and I kind of said this last night as well. I don't mind this. Now, I know the Twitter fandom is all over this. The Falcons are taking a beating on Twitter for it. It might have been a reach to get Penix at 8. Okay, I'm willing to admit that. I think it might have been a reach. But I like the pick. Penix, he's been a QB that I've liked and I've been high on for the last 2 seasons or so. This man made Indiana a relevant football program for the first time in living memory before his ACLs decided he just didn't want to be around anymore. And yes, the questions surrounding Penix's injuries and his injury history are valid. I get that. I understand it, and I'm not throwing it away. And this may blow up in Atlanta's face as far as everything goes. But I think we also have to take into account Kirk Cousins currently recovering Achilles tendon injury. And if Kirk gets injured again, right down there in the big butthole dome, Michael Penix might be, and I stress might be, the most NFL-ready quarterback in this year's draft. I know. Don't come at me or yell at me. I don't care. Is that because he's 24 years old and football Twitterites have already calling him an old man, grandpa, old gray bush? Maybe. If Atlanta's quarterback game plan reaches its logical conclusion, Penix will be about 27 years old by the time he takes the reins of the franchise. And in NFL terms, you might as well be sucking on applesauce and shitting in diapers by that age. But I actually think I see what the Falcons were thinking here. And I think it can work. But you still should have probably given Kirk the old heads up on this one. Maybe Arthur Blank, too, because it seems like the owner of the franchise was unaware what the game plan was. And the last thing that I'll say about night 1 of the NFL draft on behalf of all NFL fans and franchises. Buffalo. What the fuck? Thank you for watching Stay Tuned Sports. Like, share, and subscribe. And believe in Daniel Jones.